Today's Just the Facts is about our XML training grant from our National Criminal History Improvement Project 2020 grant. So 2020 gives you an idea of how long we've been trying to get this XML implemented, doesn't it? And what those match requirements are for that grant. So just you can probably see Jess on the screen there. Jess is crime analyst 1. There's Autumn Fry, and she is our crime analyst or new crime analyst. And Autumn is assigned to the Central Square customers, and Jess is handling all of the other records management customers. So that'll become important when we start to look at the letters for these grants. So we'll kick it off here. Show me the money, right? And we keep hearing folks from folks, hey, have I done everything I need to get the money? We're going to talk a little bit about how to know when you should be submitting for the grant reimbursement for the conversion to XML and what is required. So yes, we will show you the money, and we're anxious to get it out of our coffers and into your pockets. So first of all, everything that you need to know about the Montana MTIBRS is on this site, and you've been there probably any number of times to look at what is required for XML, and that's all of these very top resources for you. And your vendors have been intimately familiar with all of this, and almost every vendor is at least 90%, if not completely certified by now. So the next step in this process is certifying all of you to make sure that what we saw the vendors say they were going to do was actually rolled over to your system, because sometimes even within sister agencies, we're seeing some differences that got lost in translation, and it could be that there's just a glitch by how that given how that system customized that software when it was implemented on their server. So the two documents or the two links that we're going to be talking about today are those ones highlighted in bright yellow, as if you probably didn't already glean that. But we're going to talk about the sample award letter and instructions, and then we're going to talk about the IEPD agency verification master spreadsheet, and all of those long words just to say it's just verifying that what they said they would do, your vendor, that they indeed did. So again, this is where that link will take you. These will be on the website. So if you clicked on that live link, it'll take you right here. Those bottom two links will take you to something that looks like this. So this is that award letter that either you have received or will be receiving should you have been approved to receive funds from this XML grant. And again, these funds are for if you have been with the same vendor for ever and a day. They actually submitted excuse me, a quote to us to say this is what it would cost over and above your annual maintenance fees to convert you to XML, and that's the amount that you will see in these fields up here, right? Then there was also some folks that were on old systems or systems that were end of life, like Sleuth or eForce, and those systems, because they were end of life, required that the agency seek out a new vendor. And for those agencies, there was more allotted in the federal grant for those agencies, sometimes up to $20,000, just depending on what the cost of your new records management system was. So that amount will be right there. And already pre-calculated is the amount that you're required to match. Now, I bolded in kind only so that you know we don't want any dollars from your organization. We're trying to save you money. But the in-kind match was a requirement of the 2020 NCHIP. Of course, now they no longer require match, so dang it, just applied a little bit too late. But the match is just your time, and I'm going to go over that a little bit longer, but just keep that amount in mind. That's just the amount that you'll be looking at. And typically this is just, again, in the $300 range. Sometimes if you're getting that $20,000 grant, it'll be about $2,000 match, give or take. So that's what you want to be looking at. Then just as an aside, if you look at our agency contact information and you're going, oh my gosh, where did you get that information? That's all wrong. Give us, just note that on the form itself. Just put the new address or the new phone number or the new name on there, and we'll get that taken care of. But that's just what we show for you in our database right now for the active agency contacts. The next thing is that you'll see the agency analyst for your vendor, and Autumn is one for this particular vendor who happens to fall under any vendor. or Jess's name will appear for the others. Yes, Autumn is so thrilled that she is now the responsible for any vendor. And you'll notice that Natalia has to sign these award letters per our federal requirements, and that the date is 2020, which is when we were technically awarding all of you the funds, but it has taken us almost 3 years, almost 4 years, to get the vendors to the point where they are able to get that XML file format ready to roll over to your agencies. So while it's been a while, we're nearing the home stretch here, so we're pretty excited about it. So your agency has, over the last 3 years, been working with us to get the vendor certified, and they had to be certified in order for us to then say, okay, we'll now go out and certify your agency and pay that amount that they requested that we pay over and above your annual maintenance. So some of you have seen a copy of that. If not, we can sure provide it to you. But technically, what we're going to do is we're going to require that you then go through almost the same kind of certification. And honestly, what this is more of, and I love when you open this, make sure you scroll over, because you're going to go, there's nothing in there. It's blank. Column A starts, for whatever reason it saved it like that. What this is it's just the changes that were made to the system so that we can add some additional fields that are specific to Montana, changes in the way we're doing things based on us listening to you and trying to make, again, the data collection easier and that the results are more accurate. So this list is something that we'll go through with all of you. And again, primarily to see if it shows up in your system as it did in the test environment with your vendor. And then secondly, so that you kind of know, what is this field? Or, we can tell you what the 411 is on the field that we've added, why you should be concerned with this data and what the results might be because of this data being collected. So just a little bit of going over that with you. So this checklist, that's that first link. You click on it, it'll go through all the fields. Because we go through this with you on a Zoom call, you don't need to be panicking about this. This isn't a test. There isn't anything that you need to do to prep for it, other than the first is the test scenarios. And this is really just so that you can go through and make sure that if you put in these test scenarios, which are right here on the website, and it's another link that was there, and you enter the data as Dan designed this before he absconded to the Legislative Services Division, then we can verify that the version that they promised would be rolled out to each agency is indeed rolled out, and you guys are functioning at the level that we know that the agency was certified to function at. And so let me go back then to the award notice. So that verification master, we'll just fill that out together, and you can have a copy of that, and all of those are kept so that we can show our federal partner that we verified that we didn't go ahead and reimburse you for work that was not done. The next thing is, again, you'll be contacted by your analyst. So either Autumn or Jess will be getting a hold of you. They'll schedule about an hour with you. And it really is best to have as many folks there that approve incidences for submission to NIBRS as possible, just so that you make sure that you know the importance of some of the new fields and that we can get some good data from that. And the second is, let's see, the test scenarios. We just went through that, so you can take a look at those. Most people haven't seemed to have too many problems with that, but we do come up with a glitch every now and then where some weird versions were rolled out for some different vendors, and so some incidents weren't going through because their statute table or the bond table was not the one that was tested. So sometimes it's just an easy fix like that. So then when your agency is certified and you need to get the copy of the invoice from your vendor. Now, if you're an agency that's sharing a server with your sheriff's office or with your PD or whatever, make sure that you just coordinate with the person who's going to be paying the bills and see how that invoice is, because there might be some finessing that went on if your agency was an add-on and received a much bigger portion than the hosting agency. So the amount that was allocated for your agency, again, is shown above, and that's the amount that we'll pay. So if your vendor has charged you 4 times that amount and you guys are okay with that and paying the difference, that's great. If you're thinking, heck no, then just give us a shout. We'll have a conversation and we'll try and work out any differences if it is an error on the vendor's part. If that is indeed what the vendor and us and you agreed to, then it's a 3-year-old contract, right? So chances are that some of the folks that approved this back in 2020 aren't here anymore, but there is some rationale behind what was approved. So we have some backup documentation if you need it. So again, the match requirement is probably the biggest thing that people are a little fearful of, and you need not be. Typically, again, this amounts to about $360. By the time you choose meetings and trainings and things, it really is pretty easy to spend and to verify that you've done at least that amount in-kind training. And the certification meeting that you go through itself might actually meet that match requirement, just depending on how many people are sitting in and their hourly rate. But any time spent on testing the scenarios, and sometimes again, that in and of itself could totally seal the deal there in terms of in-kind match. And then any training you received or any meetings with your vendors or us about this. So good old Pam, you're online for the 400 hours you guys spent going back and cleaning up your 2021 and 2022 data. You've got enough hours to carry the grant for everybody. It's ridiculous. You don't have to overmatch. You just have to show that you can meet the amount assigned to you. So just as a, I guess, clarification, if you're using Fringe, you just need to include your agency policy detailing the percentage, because sometimes again, you don't want to just include a flat fee for your percentage or flat amount. You might have a percentage because it's based on the fact that you make this amount and the insurance is this amount and so much, so however that is calculated. But typically you're used to providing this for any grant that you have, so this shouldn't be a big deal. The second thing is you need to provide a signed statement, and those are the big things, a signed statement on the match documentation stating that no federal funds were used for the reported match amount. So as you see here, all of these positions were claimed at these amounts totaling $1,033. Just make sure that these are not federally funded positions, which 99 times out of 100 are not going to be, but there are goofier things that have happened, and we just want to make sure that we don't have a supplanting issue when our feds come in to do our audits, because there's about 85 of you agencies out there that will be receiving some of these funds. And then again, if you're not able to meet your match, for instance, if you're a very small agency and really the meeting took an hour and that's only going to spend $100 and you have to make up 300, not to worry, give your analyst a call. And some agencies have been way overmatched. So we definitely won't have problems. Again, if we threw in all of Stevensville and Ravalli and Hamilton's hours, in addition to carbon agencies, we would have enough to probably fund the entire federal award. So, and again, what you will do is you will attach the invoice, you will justify it with your match here. We have a copy of your verification of the system being implemented as planned. And then you want to make sure that the funds will not be issued without the agency verification checklist approved, but we will have that before you're even going to go through all of this process. And then the match documentation obviously needs to be, as I said, signed stating no federal funds are used, and the award amount was the amount shown above. Because again, some agencies are going to be getting some pretty big bills. I think some of our customers in the East that were using SWIFT and it went end of life, we had run out of funds by that time. And so we were limited as to the amount we could give. And some of you chose vendors who were a little higher priced than what we were allotting. So there's more out of pocket for you, but we definitely want to get you as much as we can. And just as kind of an aside with that, there is the possibility that towards the end of the grant, and it would likely be October or November of this year, if we have additional funds, there are those of you who we know had to put more out of pocket than you would rather have put out of pocket because you weren't able to get one of the 911 grants. We may have some additional funds, and I'm just going to say may because it is conceivable those will be gone by then, but we just have to see how the rest of this shakes out. So cross your fingers. There might be hope of a few extra dollars coming your way. Again, it wouldn't be the full amount of some of the vendors that costs that you have outstanding, but it could help. So the upcoming trainings, we can get back to questions in just a second. I'll just give you a quick, in case any of this it was part of your questions, but the XML Zoom verification meetings, we'll go over a little bit more of those if we, on the August 16th session, might be a moot point by then. So we might tie in something else just depending on where we are in 2 weeks. And then on August 30th, we'll be talking about XML grant scheduled submissions. Our biggest goal with this whole XML move was to get data more real time and not have these month-long delays, so that we were asking you questions about incidents that happened a month previous, or sometimes 45 days previous, or sometimes 2-3 months previous. So hopefully by then we'll have some good examples of agencies who are doing this and how it's benefited them. And then on September 13th, we're going to talk about MTIBRS fixable warnings that really are an indication that there might be something amok with application of a law or just some things that are inherent in that law and how it is mapped to the FBI, like our strangulation offense. So we'll talk about those then. So now I just kind of, obviously the next thing is just our contact information, but you'll have that. But so any questions out there about any of these funds or anything that isn't maybe particular to your agency's dollar amount or whatever? Or is it as clear as mud? those questions are coming into the chat like wildfire. I don't know how I'm going to answer
They
all of
really
those.
are. I don't think we're gonna be able to keep up, Kathy. I think it's just because you explained everything so darn well.
Well, that's right. And thankfully, it's pretty easy. Our goal here is really, again, to make this easy peasy for you all. We don't, it's no fun to have someone tell you they're going to give you $3,000 and then they want you to fill out, 10 forms of different types of paperwork, have a retinal scan and a strip search. And it doesn't make it too enticing to do that. So we really did try to make it as easy as we could. And I really tried to get away from even having this award letter and all of that hoo-ha, but apparently our federal partners want us to document our work. So that we're doing what they said as easily as we could possibly do it for all of you to make that the least painful that we could. But having said that, I can give you another 8 minutes of your lunch back by quitting blathering. So again, if you have any topics, let us know. If you have any questions, you guys don't hesitate to email us, and thankfully you don't, because we really appreciate that. It really helps us out. So with that, have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you, Kathy. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Bye now.